Welcome to the Build Your Brave Career podcast, where we flip the script on the tired stereotype that women in and around the tech industry have to be stressed out, overworked, and underpaid. I'm Nicole Trick-Steinbach, the International Bravery Coach and your host. Forget what you've been taught. Bravery is not a personality trait available only to the brash. Bravery is a skill, and you already have it. Which is great because building the skill of bravery is the most powerful way to creating the career and life you really want. As you build your brave, you will stress less, work less, and then earn more. This podcast will help you do just that. Let's dive in. During the summer of 2024, I'm back home in my second home, Germany, enjoying undistracted time and attention with family and friends. But this time, instead of taking our usual break, I've decided to rerun some client episodes that have been your listener favorites. These are the episodes that had the most direct response over email or social media. They've also been downloaded and shared through various podcast platforms most often. At the end of each episode, I provide a short update about how each of these incredible women have continued to grow. Each of their stories demonstrate how brave career coaching is a choice that leads to incremental and then exponential growth and results. So make sure you stay to the end to hear their updates. Let's dive in. Hey there, woman in tech, and welcome to this episode of the Celebrate Brave podcast. Today, I get to share a fabulous human being. She is our guest today. She is a client, and she is someone who's been teaching me a lot about Frisbee and setting up a life you love. Jackie Podoll, I'm so excited you're here.
Hey, Nicole. Glad to be here.
So I just love, because we've had an incredible journey together, but I would just love to invite you to introduce yourself to the audience, however you want to.
So yeah, my name's Jackie. I'm 27 years old. I'm a bit of a reformed high achiever. And yeah, just...
Wait a second. Halt. Stop. Was? You're 27?
Wait, did I say 27? I'm 28. Oh my goodness.
You're 28? Stop.
Yeah, I'm 28 years old.
Record.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you're the youngest person I've ever coached. I had no idea. You're 28. Okay, sorry, I interrupted. That is not the most important aspect of who you are, but I got so excited. Okay, and so you're a reformed high achiever. I love this.
Yeah. I come from a multicultural background, and I've just always kind of been drawn to beautiful things, places, and food. That's how I like to structure my life.
Beautiful places, things, and food. That is fantastic. Oh, thank you for introducing yourself that way. Now, are you first gen or are you second gen immigration wise?
I'm first gen on my mom's side.
You're first gen on your mom's side. Mm-hmm. That's so cool. Because I remember talking that on one side, I'm second gen, and on the other side, I don't even know. I don't count that well. Oh, that's so neat. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much. As we've been working together, I have heard so many of your brave stories, and it's one of the reasons that I really wanted to welcome you onto the podcast. Of all of them, which one did you want to share today?
I really wanted to share my brave story of walking away from my last job.
Oh, settle in, y'all. This is fun. Okay.
So to set the scene a little bit, I had been in this job for going on 5 years. It was only the second job I'd ever had. And I had been in that place of still kind of in that place of, well, what does society and my family say comes next? And I had recently kind of become aware of certain like personal finance topics and lifestyle topics that I had kind of opened my eyes to just all the different ways there are to choose to live your life. And it had kind of created this sense of desire within myself that I'd never really had before. Going through college and then first jobs, I had always thought of myself as, I'm not the dreamer. I'm not that person with a passion project or a dream job or anything like that. And this was kind of countering that. It was saying, well, maybe not like you thought the way you see everyone else, but there's still that passion. There's still those things in you that you want from life, things that you realize make you enjoy life that much more. And so that was kind of having me reevaluate my working situation and go through the start of the pandemic. And I had moved home. And so work was a big part of like pretty much all of my life for going over a year. And I was getting to the point of like, okay, I want to make this the best that I can make it. And so I tried to start having conversations with my management around these are the things that I want my work life to look like, and I want to work with them to make it happen. And initially it seemed really positive. I was trying to talk to them about making remote a permanent thing, talking about making sure that my compensation reflected the value that I brought to the company. My boss even acknowledged to me that he thought I was 10 to 15% below where I should be compensated.
Oh,
yeah. And so that seemed to get off to a good start. But then when it came to taking those next steps, it felt like we just hit a brick wall at that point. The team leadership was just firmly against any kind of remote work situation. The company had given managers the flexibility to do what was best for their teams. And he was just like, well, we're not going to do this. We're going to pretend the last year didn't happen. You're going to come back and you're going to need to be here.
Oh my goodness.
And on the other side, we went through a whole performance cycle, and there just was no results and no real explanation as for why not, or like, we still recognize the value and we're going to adjust for it in these ways. I tried to talk about non-monetary ways that I would still feel like I was feeling valued and getting more, but they were all just dead ends. And so it just grew this frustration inside of me. And we were coming up to, there was one of the dips in the pandemic cycle, and they were starting to have conversations again about, okay, well, this is what the coming back to work plan is going to be. This is our timeline. And on the work side of things, we were coming up to a project that I knew was going to be really painful and I wasn't looking forward to. And I just got to this point of, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. I don't have any sort of connection to my company or the people that I'm working with. And it just came to this moment of, then why? Because of the learnings that I'd done and changes that I'd made from the personal finance topics that I'd looked into, I had enough of a cushion that I could feel comfortable and even make my parents feel comfortable with me stepping away for a period of time. And so it just came down to why is I don't want to be here. So why am I? And giving myself the permission to say, I'm not going to. I'm going to choose to not do things that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
So I gave my notice and I took a break. And it was kind of thinking about it. I'm trying to remember if I realized this in the process or after the fact, but I was thinking back and I realized I had never taken a break of more than 2 or 3 weeks since I was 17.
Wow.
That's crazy. Like, how did I even make it this far without a breakdown? And so just recognizing that and then giving myself that break was just, it felt like it was just a really powerful moment for me.
Yeah. Choosing you.
Yeah.
Choosing you. Oh my gosh. Wow. So I knew part of that from the very first conversation that we had when we talked about like what's going on and what do you actually want. But I'll tell you, especially since this is an audio medium, right? Y'all cannot see my face. I was shocked when I heard Jackie say that she didn't have these like dreams or she didn't identify herself that way. Because Jackie, you were so clear in our very first conversation. This is the life I'm heading to. This is what's important to me. This is what I'm willing to do to get there. So that break, based on some financial and some emotional cushions that you had created for yourself, that break must have opened up so much for you as well.
Yeah, it was definitely something that was building. So like those couple years before I stepped away, because that was a lot of what I feel like gave me that motivation to just do it. Was I had started to learn that, yeah, this lifestyle that I want to lead is, it's ambitious. It's going to require certain things. And I tried doing it the kind of the popular way, the way that everyone generally talks about. The way to go after it is just work, 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 and then you can take a break. And I just realized that I can't, like, that's not going to work for me, because it was like, that pattern, that choice to just completely throw yourself into work and accept the delayed gratification down the line was, I liked the idea of that, but it was, I couldn't turn off everything that I wanted for such a long time. I had to remind myself of why I was doing it.
Yeah.
And so that's why, especially then taking the break and getting to live for a short time the way I hope to live in the future. Yeah, it was so affirming to me of this, like, this is, you're going to the right place. Like, you have your head on straight. You know what you want. You can stop second guessing yourself. And now you can just go after it.
Yes. Yes. And so I think we're talking about financial independence, right? Like,
yes,
choosing if you're going to work, choosing if you retire, et cetera. And I carried a lot of debt. I came from, all of this poverty and stuff. And I did this one person's program, and it was really extreme to get out of debt. It was so extreme. And I'm really grateful that I got out of debt at 27 from college and things like that. I'm really grateful that I learned the discipline and the determination and the commitment to self. But I'll tell you what, man, if I could go back, I would say to 24-year-old me, hey, listen, maybe it takes you 2 or 3 years longer, but take that road trip to Luxembourg. Enjoy another coffee in the beautiful spring weather with your friend. Relax, buy yourself a magazine or something, like chill. Because I look at that time and I'm both proud and grateful for her and the skills I built, But I also now at 42, almost 42, my birthday's coming soon. Why not celebrate in October, right? Now I look at that with some more distance and with the calm and with the space that I've created. And I'm much more compassionate. Like, it doesn't have to be this extreme. It feels very like male driven, capitalist, hoard everything now and enjoy it at some point later. And I think like you, I really appreciate working in phases. I have phases that are intense and I have phases that are less intense. And particularly because I chose to have kids, like, that's even more important to me. I don't want to work throughout the years where I don't want to work to an extreme in the years where they are most vulnerable and most soaking up what a role model looks like.
Absolutely. And that was the other part is being so young, and particularly as these public health issues come up, recognizing that I'm not guaranteed 40 years down the road.
Yes.
And I'm not, and yeah, like, you have no idea what could happen. It could be internal, it could be external. And also just people change. Everyone changes as they go through life. And maybe 10, 15, 20 years from now, I'm different and I don't want to do the things that I want to do now. And so that's, or I'm not willing to do certain things that I could get away with now. And I didn't want to lose a whole section of life experiences because I was waiting. So,
yeah, to hit some magical number somebody somewhere calculated on an Excel that has nothing to do with your life. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much so how long was your break?
So it ended up being about 10 months from resignation to first day.
That's a baby. That's having a baby. The 9-month thing is a lie, everybody. Speaking from somebody who did it twice. If it's 40 weeks both of my babies were like super comfortable. So they came out like 41 and 42 weeks. That's 10 months.
Yeah.
That's 10 months. You rebuilt your entire, wow. That's fantastic. What surprised you the most? So you made the decision. You covered that beautifully. What surprised you the most in your break? In your life phase? You know what? Actually, I just heard that come out of my mouth and I was like, oh my God, that is such shit. I don't like that word, because you didn't take a break. You stepped into a powerful aspect of your life. Like, when we say break, we're like centering work, but that's not the center of life, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask that question in a different way. I just had an aha, everybody. So what surprised you the most in that life phase?
I think what surprised me the most was how I ended up building my own patterns, and to what degree. Because I often think previously I'd often thought about having all of my time to myself and picturing like having my own little schedule where I would like naturally wake up and then I would make myself breakfast and have like a period of time where, okay, I always get up and then I have breakfast and then I do yoga and then I read, or like having my own little schedule. And it surprised me how much I was more mood driven in a way. So it was maybe one day I wake up and I'm just feeling really energized. So I have a big breakfast. I do a little workout or go for a walk outside. And maybe other days I'm just feeling a little slower pace. So I just have some water when I wake up, and then I just sit with a book or just sit and do puzzles or stare out the window, doing absolutely nothing for just until I feel the energy to get up and finally have food, or who knows. And so I would have days where I would, because I was still like trying to do a job search at the same time, like while I was in this phase. So some days I would get up and I would knock out 4 applications. And there were some days where I would literally just take 6-7 hours in the afternoon and I would just read. I would go find a nice spot outside and read until it was dark. So I was, just because of these kind of notions of myself that I had in my head, I thought that I would be a very kind of schedule repetition based person, and that was not what ended up happening at all.
Oh my, all that freedom that you gave yourself. Oh man. Yeah, I have those reading days too.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, 2 kids, dog, husband, household. I'm like, mommy needs a reset. And I climb into my bed. I have 4 pillows around me. And I just finished this book called Under the Whispering Door. And it's about, death and rebirth and what is love and who gets to love whom and things like that. And literally at some point I came downstairs and was like, mommy needs freedom today. Canceled a few. I think I had a meeting with my financial advisor and something else. And I was like, mommy needs a reset. Cause I just, that freedom and following my hormonal energy moods and things like that, that is such a beautiful surprise that you had. So how is it like bringing that in now? Cause you've been now full-time for 3 months, 4 months. How long has it been?
May.
Oh my gosh.
So
it's been like 6 months.
Yeah.
Wow. God, time flies, girl. So how is it now with all of this freedom and this knowledge of who you are and how you thrive? Now you're working full time again. How is that all balancing out for you?
It's definitely still a work in progress, I would say. Because I found that a lot of my balance was giving myself the time and space to do nothing. And I found that was definitely something that I needed, just like my brain or just my energies. Like I need those times to just sit and zone out, whether I'm literally staring at a wall or maybe I've turned some TV on. And working full time is just, the amount of time that I have in general is so much less that the balance of that is much more difficult. So it's required me to take a closer look at everything that I'm doing outside of work to really understand and prioritize what is, I know. So I have a better sense now of what I need, what my body needs. And I have all these things that I enjoy doing and people that I love to be around. But now that I have that better understanding, really having kind of hard internal conversations around, is this important enough that it pushes something else out of the way?
Ooh. Yeah. Oof. Yeah.
So my evenings and weekends have definitely become more valuable time. Certainly. And I definitely think a lot more about when I get invitations or I come up with ideas of things I want to do. Just thinking a little longer about what that'll mean and what I want to get from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think a lot of people can feel that deep in their bones. How do I want to spend this one precious moment, this one precious evening, this one precious weekend, this one precious life? Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Constraint is a really important word about how we fill our times. And one thing, so I lived in Germany for such a long time, and that is my baseline. And living in the United States with kids, it's really shocking to me how much people put on their calendars. Everybody has 2 activities, and then there's a trip, and then there's this and that, and I have to volunteer, or I'm a bad person, and those kinds of things. And one thing I really want to stress, but I just love about you, and I don't know we've ever had this conversation, is your bravery to do nothing and to be with yourself. One of the things I really encourage women, clients, myself to do is to explore meditation or mindfulness. And it is so clear that you are safe and secure with yourself by how you show up, how you take in the coaching or you take in the advice, and you decide what you're going to take for yourself through a process that for me is totally opaque, but it's so powerful for you. The bravery to do nothing is something that if I can whisper that into everyone's ear, it would really be with yourself. Turn off the radio when you commute to work. Sit in silence for 5 minutes a day. Choose to meditate if that like speaks to you. But I think one of the most powerful things that you've done is choose to be with yourself and to feel not just okay with it, but you feel really good about it, that when it's reduced, you notice it. Yeah. So thank you for your brave story. I love that. I learned a lot too, which is very cool. So obviously, as you're going through this, you're looking around, and one thing that you mentioned is like what's expected by society or friends or families or institutions or whatever, and that you chose to do something for yourself. But did you have like somebody that was a brave role model at some point in your life that supported you in stepping into your own brave that you would want to share with us today?
Yeah, so I had someone who wasn't quite on the level of a personal connection, but I got to know her very well through a blog that she writes, and being able to follow her life and her path, and even when brave enough, have some little back and forth in her comment section. But yeah, her the blog was A Purple Life, and she goes by Purple because she keeps it anonymous. And she was really it's actually kind of funny because you were just talking about the being able to take that time in silence and embrace it. And she was one of those people that really helped me to embrace that, because she's a financial independence is the primary space that she talks to in her blog. And her story really resonated with me because that was one of her big things, is embracing leisure and unproductivity. She called it slug life.
No way. Slug life? I'm a fan. Slug life, y'all. We heard it here from Jackie via Purple. All right, cool. Keep going. Slug life. Yeah, I love it.
It was in kind of the early stages for me as I was trying to find my way through and trying to find different paths through the financial independence, because it was a lot of the same stuff, and it wasn't a lot of it wasn't quite resonating, because like I said, I had like a suspicion that I wasn't doing this to go after a passion project or to spend more time with, like, to raise a family. And so I was really trying to find, I was like, surely, like, is there anyone else out there like me? And finding her was just a revelation because she talks so much about, yeah, just being able to embrace taking afternoon naps or just sitting outside listening to the birds. And so that was really being able to see myself in someone else who was doing the same thing and a little bit ahead of me. She's actually she hit her retirement goal of 30 I think a year and a half or 2 years ago now. And yeah, just being able to see parts of myself that I hadn't been able to find elsewhere in her story and her success helped me to embrace those parts and to embrace them and to just and have ownership of them and not feel like I have to apologize because I'm different in that way. It's like, no, this is what I want and it's totally valid. So
It is okay. I'm going to say it is totally valid. I love that you are following this goal of financial independence for your own reasons. It's one of the things that I have just found so much pleasure in coaching you, because it's not about traditional roles or responsibilities, expectations. It's about what really drives you forward and those, as you said, the beautiful people, things, and places.
Yeah.
Right. And just always coming back to that. So, okay. So purple. And what's the name of the blog again?
A Purple Life.
A Purple Life. Purple is one of my favorite colors of all times. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And I also love how you did have some direct engagement with her, but just her sharing her story ignited and freed for you your story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you're going to be doing that for other people via this podcast, if not other ways, which I love. I'm so excited. Okay. So last question. So you shared your brave story and your brave role model. You've already given us so much richness to bathe in. Oh, pleasure of doing nothing. How did coaching help you through this period as well?
Yeah, coaching to me has really helped me to embrace authenticity. I've always wanted to really be able to present myself as honestly and authentically as possible. It's something that I've always found so beautiful in other people that I've seen do this successfully. And so I wanted to do that on my own or for myself. And I found that I would second guess myself. And particularly when it came to things in the workplace and career wise, whenever I felt like I didn't have enough information or I felt a little bit lost, I would automatically kind of shrink back from that authenticity, and I would start to just go with what I thought what you were supposed to say or what people wanted to hear. And so coaching through answering those little questions that I was just like, is this how things normally work or what's expected? And so just having those little answers and that little bit of extra structure and resource really helped me to kind of ease the nerves and just be able to stop second guessing and just embrace the authenticity of who I am and what I want, and be able to present that in a way that I'm confident in, that I know is that I can still be professional and that I can still be professional in this environment while being authentic and confident and not having to worry that one is taking away from the other.
Yeah. Oh, that is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. Thank you. So as you were talking, a story of our time together came up for me, which was you were in this interview process with a company you were interested in, job you were interested in, and they asked you a question about, would you want, this customer facing more, or would you want the data facing more? And you answered honestly that it was the data that was really interesting for you, as well as the customer, but the data would come first. And I remember you being nervous about that. And then them being so excited, they found somebody who was like, yes, data. And it was such a great example of what you just shared, which was you showing up as you in this just calm, you just have this beautiful, thorough, calm energy about you. And that was exactly what they were looking for. And you knew that's what they wanted. And they knew that that's what they were going to get. And it worked out pretty quickly from that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely been one of the best examples of that throughout this process and these last few months and year. It was very scary. I'll say, even with the confidence from coaching and going in there, kind of committing to this is what I'm going to do. It was like not knowing how they were going to react was like, oh my goodness. But then, yeah, hearing that from them, their response of, yeah, okay, I appreciate you telling us that, and being like totally on board with it, and it was just like, oh my goodness, this can like this is working.
Right. And this is one of the reasons why I really wanted your podcast conversation to come after accountability and the Build Your Brave framework for this season. And people will be listening to this in their order, but as we're releasing them, it was because I think the biggest work you did was around letting other people have their responses and you being you, like you said, authenticity. And it was like, it was just like, I can't even think of the metaphor, but it was like this big blossom happen. You know how like in the spring and you're walking around and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, all the flowers are open. When did that happen? It feels like it happens overnight, even though it didn't. That's what it felt like when you started to release how people would respond and telling your story in your way. It was like just so much was still scary. And I really appreciate you sharing that. Just earlier today, I made a decision that has to do with my kids and I needed to fill in the paperwork. And I got really nervous just filling in the paperwork about us and who we are and what's important to us. So I love that you shared that aspect as well. And I'm really glad that you got that moment and that it worked out as well. I mean, it was going to work out, period. You're so skilled. You're so skilled. Well, thank you, Jackie. Thank you so much. I think you're going to ask people if they want to connect to do it over LinkedIn. Is that right?
Yeah. If anyone wants to reach out, I'm sitting out there in the LinkedIn space.
If you want to connect to Jackie, absolutely. LinkedIn, it'll be in the show notes. And Jackie, thank you so much for sharing your unique story and your unique energy. And it's just been such a joy. It's really been a pleasure to coach you. So thank you for the trust as well.
Thank you so much. It's been a beautiful process.
All right. Until next conversation, brave it up, everyone. Bye. So what's been going on with Jackie since this episode aired? Well, this is what she sent me. Hi, everyone. It's been about 18 months since you last heard from me, and they've brought almost as much change as the prior 18. It started with work chaos as both my team and our responsibilities were constantly being altered. I'd always known that this role wasn't my perfect fit, but it took about a year of this to realize that I was on my own for finding something better. Once I turned that page, my next hurdle was myself. what if I took a transfer and the new position wasn't any better? It took some time, but I led with curiosity, centered progress over perfection. And I'm very happy to report that I've been in my new role on my new team for about 2 months. I'm feeling more supported and optimistic about what's ahead than ever before in my career. Jackie's story is a great example of incremental, sustained choices to be more brave, to refuse to settle, and to decide what's next for you. Thanks again to Jackie for being my amazing client, a wonderful guest, and giving us this update. Till next week. If the Build Your Brave Career podcast is helping you flip the script in your own career, if it's helping you reduce your stress, work smarter, or create more income, please share this with a friend. Till next time, you are already brave. Now go build your brave.